Hey, I'm Heidelin with Austin Entertainment Management Music Strategy Live here with my co-host Mike. What's going on?
What's up, Heidi? Same old here.
Awesome. Okay, so I've got some good storytelling, I feel like, for today's episode.
Excellent.
And we're going to be talking about how to stop doing what doesn't work. Um, it's kind of crazy. I didn't realize for the longest time that the way your brain works is, you do something the same way a certain amount of times and you build like this groove up in your brain, and then you judge a situation, it goes into that same category, and then you just slide down that same groove every time. And that's why it's really hard to get out of the groove to like make a new groove. And so I would find myself, even though I really wanted to change and I really wanted to do all of this stuff, after a certain amount of time, reaching this burnout and then going back to doing the things that really weren't working and being very frustrated. So I'm going to talk about that today. And the inspiration for this came from the conversations that I've been having through Facebook Messenger with other musicians, talking about the things that they're struggling with, what they're trying to achieve. And so I feel like today I've got three things that you're doing that are not working um, in your music business for you to analyze and look at and decide how you might make that change. Are you ready for some announcements, though, first, Mike? Okay. So, one of the conversations that I had this week, or last week, I should say, was with Robert Dunlap. And I was really, really hoping I was going to get his interview queued up to air this Friday, but this week's been kind of crazy. So I'm going to have that queued up and ready to air next Friday. So keep a heads up for that. And speaking of interviews, the Brodazafa had another festival this weekend called Farm Stock. That went really well. I'm seeing lots of fun pictures on there. With some of their help, I'm hoping to get some more pictures from that event up at the website. But as we're getting a little bit more organized to help promote all the bands that play at the Brodazafa festivals, we're going to try and get the interviews started for the next upcoming festival, which is Farmageddon. All of the corn should be grown up in the field all around the venue. It can be nice and
They have the best venue or like show names, I swear. Stock, Farmageddon, Farmapalooza.
And the one after that is Metal in the Meadow.
That's even better. That's so good.
Yes. So we're contacting all the bands, trying to get them set up with an interview spot. So August should be full of lots of interviews in order to cram all of them in before the event. I didn't write down the event. If you go to hellisthebomb.com/Brodazafa, you can check out when that is. But it's in September. So we pretty much just have a month to introduce all of those bands to you. So it should be a pretty active month for us in August. Okay. I think that's all of my announcements for this week of what's going on. So let's talk about what you're doing that doesn't work. The first thing that really holds you up the most, I've discovered, is that you're doing things that don't work for you. What I mean by that is, here's a story. Way back in my 20s, I was working as a store manager as a fireworks store, 10,000 square foot year round. I've had some fun jobs. And I did that because then in the wintertime, when it was slow, I had more time to work on music stuff. But then I was either in two modes. I was either like in super burnout mode when everything was crazy busy, or I was in this, I was supposed to be doing music stuff, but by the time the end of the season came, it was just like, I'll just lay around. And this was in Wisconsin, so the off season was really cold. I just like sat in front of my space heater, and that's why I live in Florida now. But I was doing things that weren't in alignment with things that were important to my values. I wasn't tapped into why I had this crazy idea inside of myself that I wanted to be a singer-songwriter, performing musician. Like, why? And other people ask me that all the time. Like, why are you spending this extra time doing this? Like, why don't you just chill? Like, let's just hang out. Why are you putting all this time into rehearsals and stuff like that? And I was just like, because I have to, was my only real response. I had a complete disconnect between where this drive came from to do this and what was actually like pulling me in that direction. So the first thing when I started to make the changes that I needed to, so I was using my off time to make progress rather than procrastinating on a bunch of stuff and another season goes by and I really didn't accomplish much. Sitting down and really finding out why I wanted to do music. And when you first put down answers and you're brainstorming about this, it's going to be like really surface answers at first. Well, it's fun. I like to hang out with people. It's really cool to like write songs and see how it comes together. But all of that stuff is really like surface level. As you get down like a whole lot deeper, that's when you start to reach the level of your values as a person. What's important to you, really important to you. And a good perspective to have when you're thinking about this is when you're like 90 years old and you can't do a lot of the things that you used to be able to do and you're looking back over your life. What regrets are you going to have if you didn't do certain things? What are some things that you would look back and be like, yeah, I'm so glad that I did that? And that's really going to help you identify what kind of experiences you want to have in your life. And this is so much deeper than music. The problem is you're not looking at all the aspects of your life. There's the relationships. You could choose to not date anybody because you're going to be a touring musician. You just don't want to like deal with that. Well, what happens if you're lonely? Because really, you really, really wish that you had somebody that was hanging out with you all the time and you see all these other people that are doing it, but you're not letting yourself have that kind of relationship. You're doing things out of alignment with what you really want. So at the very beginning, before you even start doing any of your planning for what you want to do with your music business, go ahead and Google the Wheel of Life. It's like a really common tool that life coaches use. And there's some that are more complex and they break it apart, but you could just kind of look at it and you can even make some of your own, like break down some of the categories a bit more specifically for you. they recommend in this exercise that for each category, you rate it from 0 to 10. 0 being, I am absolutely unfulfilled in this category. It's non-existent in my life. I don't know what this is. To 10 being, I am totally satisfied. I am on full in this category for everything that I have in my life. And then they talk about how if this was a wheel that was rolling, and you had some of those categories filled in part way and then some of them filled out all the way, it would be kind of a bumpy ride. So the lesson of this is when everything is filled out to 10, your wheel is going to roll a lot smoother. And that's a lot of the things that we're talking about in Austin Entertainment Management is how do we make it easy to work in the music industry rather than what we've been told, oh, it is so hard. The problem with that, there are hard elements about this, but the problem with believing that this whole process is so hard, our brain is going, okay, programming this is hard. And so everything that you're looking at, what you're listening to in this video, you're like, yeah, what she's talking about sounds too easy. That can't work. And so you just discount it. You don't even try it. You're not even open-minded to listening to it because your brain's like, no, too easy. That couldn't be possible. The only way to work in the music industry is if it's hard. And so everything you've been trying is hard on you. Start to figure out how this could be easy. So back to the wheel of life, right? This is what you're going to do with the exercise. It's called the perfect day exercise. So you're going to take that wheel and you're going to take each category. And if everything in life was perfect, if, you had a genie in a bottle that could just wave a wand and fix things when they got in your way, like money or time or any of that stuff that you're struggling with in order to have time to hang out with your family, for example. Okay? Maybe your family piece of the pie is really at like a 3 satisfaction level right now. So what you're going to write about is what would a week look like or a month look like if it was a 10 in that category. How much time would you be hanging out with your family? What would you be doing? Where would you be doing these things? And you think about as many details as you can, and really capture that in your imagination. It's going to take you a little while. So don't overthink this and go, okay, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to journal all of this in one day. I don't recommend that. You're going to get burnt out and you're going to go, no, not going to do that. So just sit down for like 15 minutes a day and start journaling around the wheel of life. What is going to make each thing a 10 in your life? And remember, this is your imagination. So you have all the resources you need. You have, everything to make it possible. So don't worry about the how you're going to get to that 10. Just go, this is what 10 looks like. So this is going to help you get to what you really value. This is going to help you get to your why and your passion and connect with that feeling that you have to, this drive, but what the passion is behind it that fuels the fire. Then the other part of this, you're doing things that don't work for you because you're not questioning your beliefs. So as you go through this and you start writing your perfect day, you're going to have thoughts popping up in your head. Like, oh, that could never happen. Like, oh, well, if I was a better player, like maybe that could happen. Or, just these doubting thoughts are going to pop up while you're doing the exercise. And a lot of times we just dismiss that and go like, well, that's just the way that I am. But that's the problem. That's what has you stuck, is not questioning that voice and that belief. What do you mean you're not a good enough player to do this? And is that said from a place of judgment, or is that something that you've observed with discernment and are able to say, like, I just started playing 6 months ago? But in that case, the plan is to just keep practicing for another 6 months and another year. You can be a better player. Maybe this step of perfect 10 isn't going to happen in the next year or 2 or maybe even 3. But the important part is where the end destination is, so that you can pick up all the right opportunities and put yourself in front of those opportunities. So in the end, you end up at a 10. It's not about luck. It's about strategy. And where you're not letting yourself strategize and figure out what things are not working for you is you're not sitting down to look at what you believe about yourself, about others, and about the situation and the world around you. Mike, you went through the Positive Intelligence program, and you're in our Grow program now. And this mental fitness really addresses our inner beliefs and the things that we've been telling ourselves, and really having a process to stop and analyze what we're thinking about and decide if this really is going to be a truth for us or not. So can you kind of explain for people your experience with the program so far?
Well, I'd say, like, in regards to that, like, specifically what we're talking about, I found that, like, with Positive Intelligence, it really opened up the realism behind, like, that aspect of you do limit yourself more than you realize that you do. And that not only do you do that, but it's not like you're crazy. Like, there's reasons why you do it. Like, everything adds up to something, and everything could actually be worked on and built up like a muscle to kind of avoid, or not even avoid, but more like lessen the blow of these situations. So with my personal experience, I found that there was a lot of times that I was just losing time, where I thought that, like, oh, well, I can't do this because I don't have the time to do this, or I can't accomplish this. And then, like, instead of like leaving it right there, like, well, I can't possibly do that, it's like, but like you said, like, so why can't you do that? And then once you start asking yourself these questions, and then you start breaking them down and understanding, like, what aspect of yourself is attacking yourself, I feel like that's what Positive Intelligence brought forward, because it slapped names and identities onto the things that are constantly occurring in your brain anyway, but you can't really label them. And it makes it so that you're able to be like, okay, well, this is what's going on, and this is how I can stop it. So, like, for me, it's been tremendous because it's an everyday occurrence. Like, Dr. Shazad says, it's a mental muscle. So you're constantly building a muscle up in this situation. So it's not going to be something that you just do once and then it's like, oh my God, my problems are solved. But you're going to do it consistently, and you're going to keep building upon it, and it's going to get easier and easier, and you're going to be able to eventually quiet down all the voices in your head that tell you that you can't do things or that you're not good enough. All the judges and its accomplices will slowly go away, and you'll start listening to your more sage perspectives. And it's like, it's really awesome and life-changing too.
Well, and I do want to correct you just a little bit. These saboteurs are never, ever going to go away. Ever. And just when you think that maybe you've kind of got them quieted down and you've got some control of them, something crazy is going to happen to in your life. and you're going to revert back to those original neural pathways that you formed in your brain. And suddenly this stuff, these voices is going to reemerge again. But through the training, you're going to learn how to not be hijacked for so long. Instead of being in a deep depression for 2-3 days, you're going to go, we've been here before. I was expecting you to show up. And this is actually what we're doing now. This is what we believe now. Those beliefs might have served us and protected us in the past, but it doesn't now. And that's going to help you get outside of your comfort zone, which for us creatives, I feel for many of us, and I'm speaking for myself, especially once you get outside of the comfort zone, that's when a lot of the doubts and the fears really get loud. And without a process to look at those beliefs of what I'm saying to myself, you can easily just shut down and go back to doing things the way that you were doing it before. So I wasn't doing things that worked for me, but I kept looking at that end picture of what I value, being tapped into that fuel. I was able to keep working until I found a process that was going to help me stay outside of my comfort zone and do the things that I should be doing. I want to be doing.
Yeah.
So I spent most of this episode on number 1 because this is the part we skip, yo. Like, we totally disregard ourselves. We burn ourselves out. We work too many hours for other people going, oh my gosh, I need this money to survive. Then we don't have much creative time or energy left over for the stuff that we really want to do. And then we wonder why we're unhappy.
Yeah. That's so true.
So your action item from number 2, you don't question your beliefs. I put in the chat this really cool assessment where you can find out what your top sabotaging voices are, what they've been saying to you, and find out a little bit more about what we're doing with musicians' mental fitness. And if you want to know more after you fill out that survey, then just send me a message on Facebook, get in touch with me, and I'll tell you more. What were you going to say, Mike, before I cut you off?
I was just saying, take that survey.
It's fun, right? It only takes like 3 minutes. There's like little fun, like character dudes that kind of make you laugh. And I mean, you're going to relate. Yeah. I just met one person that's done the assessment that was like, yeah, you don't know me.
Yeah. I honestly might just put the link in my like Instagram story because I feel like we need to get this thing out, get these people help realize what's going on with themselves.
Right. Okay, so I would say that is the majority of the things you are doing that don't work. So number 2, you're doing things that don't work for others. And so when you're trying to collaborate with others, number 1, they haven't done step number 1 and 2. Okay, so they don't know either. Everybody's like, I don't know, we'll just work together and see what happens. You know, like there's no plan, there's no direction, or there is, but it's so vague that there's so many different interpretations of what the outcome is going to be. And so as one member is like, yep, cool, I got this opportunity for us. Like, this is totally in the direction of the band. And then you pitch it to the rest of the band members, and there's like 1 or 2 that are like, I'm not sure, man. I don't think I want to do this. And you're like, what? Man, I thought we were all on the same page for this. I thought we were like all going in this direction. You see, like this is what we had written down for the expectations. So the more specific you are about the things that you want and you value in your life, you're going to be able to attract those kind of people to you in your life. You're going to be able to find them a lot easier in all of the whole wide world of people you have to choose with to work with. So that's going to make it easier. And in that same category, so first I talked about people collaborating like in our tight, like close circles, right? But what about the fans that we're trying to reach with our music? So you're not doing the things that work for your fans. You're not communicating with them on their favorite social media page because you don't have the time to learn about social media, or you don't really have any interest in social media. Like, I don't know, figure that out later. So you're wondering why, like, there's just like this disconnect. And even if you're playing shows and you're connecting with them live, like after that experience is over, they completely forget about you because everybody else is stealing their attention. So if you want to make it easier to connect with fans, think about how you can make your process easy for them to be in your space. And with that, because you don't have a plan, it's really hard for you to work with other business partners, because when you're working together in business, you definitely want to make sure that you guys are headed in the same direction. And that's how it's a win-win situation. So if you can't express exactly where you're headed or exactly the people that you're going to work with, you might be testing out that partnership only to be heartbroken when you find out that like this was never going to work. And then number 3, all of this, and you're not tracking what you're doing. You're doing some stuff, but you're not keeping track of it. So you're not keeping track of who you talk to. So your follow-up for opportunities is not as timely as it could be. So a lot of opportunities you're leaving on the table because you forgot about them and you weren't timely with it. You don't know who you should talk to because you don't have a plan. So you don't know like what part you're working on and what you should know about certain things. So you don't even know like who to ask for help, like who would be a good mentor, who would be a good teacher, what should I be learning right now. And because you're not tracking things, you aren't keeping track of where your fans are either. And so you really don't know where they are. You don't know where they're interacting with you. And a lot of your efforts are just wasted because you aren't just taking 5 to 15 minutes to come up with a way to track what you're doing. And I think for today's episode, that pretty much will wrap it up. So in summary, the biggest thing is you're not doing things that work for you. Discover your values, do the wheel of life and the perfect day journaling. Okay. And when you start doing that, there's going to be some really negative thoughts that make you feel bad that are going to pop up into your head while you're doing it. Don't accept those as truth. Question them and find out why you're limiting yourself in such a way with those comments and the things that you believe. Number 2, you're not doing the things that work for others. And that's because you're not doing number 1. So start with number 1. Number 2 will be a lot easier. You can come talk to us. This is what we're talking about in our masterminds. Once we understand more about what we're doing and what we value, then we start reaching into how can we make it easier for other people to work with us, easier for our fans to find us, easier for us to find them. That's number 2. Number 3, you're not tracking what you're doing. And in our Accountable to Music group, which is a free group for you to join, that's what we're doing there. There is a form you can fill out every week and say, hey, I want to get this done. And I did this last week. And oh, by the way, I need some help working on this one section in the song. Is there anybody that can help me out with that? And you submit that, and then the other people that are working on this can look and see what you wrote. They can reach out to you during the week and be like, hey man, how's it going? We can support each other. Or we can reach out and say, hey, I can sit down with you this week and work on that part of the song, like when you want to do it.
Yeah.
You're going to have the tracking to keep track of the things that you said you were going to do. and the accountability the next week to be like, yeah, I didn't get that done, and here's why. And we can work through if this is a reoccurring problem and how to change that, or if it was just, a one-off, like my crazy busy week that I had this week that I couldn't get Robert's video done. And speaking of really good interviews, to wrap all this up, Steven Petuza from Steven's Piano, he was our guest last week. Like, his interview was awesome. So if you missed last week's episode, just go back, check out our YouTube channel. Oh, I feel like I have a little thing that scrolls along the bottom for that.
Yeah, Steve was awesome. Definitely check him out.
So let's see. Yes, here it is. Scrolling along the bottom, our YouTube channel link at AEM Music Strategy. Head on over there and subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss any of our interviews when they're released or any of our Music Strategy Live episodes. So now that you know all about me, next week we're going to talk about Mike. Next week's Mike's episode.
Yeah. Let's learn about me.
Yes, it's time we learned all about Michael.
Look forward to it.
When we get deep, we use like the full first name. All right, well, cool. Hopefully you guys got something out of this episode. There's definitely some homework from this. So go do your wheel of life and your journaling and definitely take that assessment. And if you have any questions, you want to talk to me about this stuff, reach out to me in Facebook Messenger, and I love to chat. All right, cool. I will see you guys all next week.